Hey, this is Shilpa here. So this time we're going to go deep dive into the study of matridonals. Now, we've done a case study. If you haven't had a look at that, you can find the link to the case below. It's about the journey to motherhood and how we use matridonals in her case through different times in that journey. Now, this time we're going to look at matridonals, the Materia Medica of the matridonals, and we're also going to differentiate matridonals with other sister remedies from other kingdoms, right? So I'm going to break this down into a few parts, but in this particular block, we're going to look at deep dive into matridonals as a group, how to study the Materia Medica of the matridonals, and how to make sure that you get the grounded information without any pitfalls. The number one reason for that is not all remedies in this particular group are well proved, so they're not well represented in our repertories and Materia Medica, but we have a way of being able to understand this information and the Materia Medica of these remedies in spite of that. And how do you do that without overwhelm and without any pitfalls and feeling ungrounded? All right, so let's go. So what exactly are matridonals? These are basically remedies that are created, or sarcodes, which means homeopathic remedies created from healthy tissue, and these are derived from human tissue related to pregnancy, motherhood, and the baby. All right, so what remedies do we have in our database today? Currently, these are the different remedies that are available as matridonals. On the left side, I've put in all the sarcodes, and on the right side, I've put in all the hormones related during that period. All right. So we have the amniotic fluid, the umbilical cord, the placenta, the meconium, the vernix caseosa, which is a covering, protective fat covering on the baby, the colostrum, which is the first milk, lac maternum, and lac humanum. These are the two different milks. The lac maternum has more of the colostrum in it. And then we have the hormones, the estrogen, the folliculinum. The difference is the estrogen, basically you have the ovarian tissue or the estrogen itself. And in the folliculinum, it's the synthetic estrogen available in the form of pills. Progesterone and testosterone, corpus luteum, the human chorionic gonadotrophin hormone, which is the HCG hormone secreted in the first part of the pregnancy, and the oxytocinum. So every group, every remedy are always studied into 4 different stages. When you start studying the Materia Medica of these remedies as a group, we have 4 different stages. Stage 1, which is where you're matching the remedy at the level of the organ or the pathology, the pathophysiology, or at the level of the system. Then we have stage 2, which is where you match the remedy at the level of the local therapeutic symptoms, or so-called therapeutic match. Then we have at stage 3, where we go more deeper at the holistic level, at the constitutional level, at the mind-body level, where you have the connecting symptoms in different parts of the body, and everything is taken in as a whole. And then we have stage 4, where you match at a very, very energetic, deeper level at the source level. So these are the 4 different types of understanding and depth of understanding of the remedies that we need to really get the entire length and breadth of these remedy groups. Now remember, as you start matching these remedies at higher stages, you are also ensuring the remedy matches along the entire axis, which means if you match a remedy at stage 4, you are also matching it at stage 3, stage 2, and stage 1. And hence, when you go higher and higher, you have much more clarity of the understanding of the remedy as well as the patient, and you have much more accuracy because you have so many different levels of confirmation of that remedy picture understanding, right? So the aim ideally is to match at higher levels, but we work with wherever the patient is at, whatever we get from the patient. That's the whole idea of understanding the stages concept, right? Now, when you match at different levels, the outcome that you get from those remedies are also different based on how the match goes, and the potencies that you're using are also different. When you're matching at stage 1, basically you're using very, very material doses of the sarcode, especially until 12C, where there is some form of material present in that particular substance, in that particular remedy. So the idea here is to repair the damaged organs, or in case of a hormonal gland, you basically, if there is a deficiency of a particular hormone, you are helping boost the levels and eliminating any sort of deficiency at a physiological level. At stage 2, this is when you're using potencies between 12C and 30C. This is just a ballpark figure, but you get it. It's mostly second level of match where you have some sort of energetic potency. There is no material in that particular medicine, right? So this is where you're matching at a local level. And in this case, you have the homeopathic action now taking place where both excess and deficiencies of that particular hormone can be balanced. So it works in both ways. All it does is balances that local function. At stage 3, you're basically using the remedy at a 200C or a 1M, so at a higher potency or a moderate to high potency. And here you're looking to balance the general multisystemic issues coming up, which with at the level of the mind, at the level of the body. So it's a more holistic approach and a holistic action of the remedy that you're looking for. And finally, at stage 4, we're using Matridonals to balance the energetic disturbance at the level of the source. And here you can use higher potencies at 10M and beyond. So this is generally a ballpark figure, obviously based on individual expression, sensitivity, susceptibilities, potencies can change, but this is the general protocol which you can use as a baseline. So how do you get the information? Now, obviously there are different sources from which you can get remedy information. At all levels, you have obviously provings. If there is information in the provings, that's what we use. Now, unfortunately, not every proving has been done at all 4 levels. Most of the provings are done at stage 2, and most of the clinical information we get is 2 and 3. So all our provings, the database in the provings is basically at stage 2 and 3, which is where you get the most information. But in some cases, you do get some information at stage 1 where you have the remedy proven in or clinical symptoms, toxicological symptoms, or side effects of the remedies or hormones that people are using. You get some information at stage 1. And at stage 4, basically, you can get information of cured symptoms at clinical level at that energetic and source level. But at stage 1, what you're basically using to complement and supplement the proving is the pathophysiological information or the organic information of that remedy action on which we can find in the pathophysiological books. At stage 2, you're also using some general group information, thematic information at the kingdom level. So this is a very broad spectrum information that you're using, plus from the provings you're getting some therapeutic information. At stage 3, you're using the proving information at that stage, plus you're using the sub-kingdoms and the sub-kingdom themes of that particular remedy, because that's where the stage 3 match is. And finally, at stage 4, you're getting not just the proving information, but most of it comes from the source information. So I'll tell you how you elicit this information and what sort of templates can you use to get this information based on your own study. All right, so let's move on to stage 1. First, we'll go and look at how do you use the information from the provings to get the matridonal understanding at the stage, plus where do you look for the pathophysiological information. First, let's go to the provings. So to do this, I've opened up the remedy analysis of my HomeQuest software. You can obviously do that in any software which has these functions. And what I've done is I've chosen all the different matridonal remedies that are present in our database, right? And so we have ovaries, folliculanum, progesterone, corpus luteum, HCG, oxytocin, amniotic liquor, which is amniotic fluid, chorda umbilici, which is the umbilical cord, placenta, meconium, vernix, colostrum, lac maternum, lac humanum. These are remedies available at the moment. I'm going to use an advanced analysis here, basically. And what I'm going to do is we want general broad spectrum affinities of this remedy at stage 1, right? So we look at, let's try and, have at least 5 remedies we want from the Matridonal family here. And we want all rubrics which have at least 5 of these remedies, which will give us the general thematic understanding of these at stage 1. And you say analyze. So you can see there are different big broad spectrum rubrics coming up here. And now we go and look at what are the general organs and tissues or specific systems that are being affected by these remedies. And then you see, as you move down, you see there is headaches. So it has a strong sensation on the head. You have coryza discharge and inflammation, which means it has an inflammation of the mucous membrane of the nose. Then you have nausea and vomiting with cramping and gripping and diarrhea in the abdomen. So that's an interesting sphere of action here. What else is important here? We have mucous membrane in general being affected. Children complaints of in general. Then we have child, we have family, sexuality is a theme. Female hormones is a big theme from Jeremy's repertory. Not surprisingly, childishness or childlike behavior is a sphere of action with clingy dependency. Developmental delay. So it is a great zone of this remedies is in kids with developmental delays. And this is interesting. Detached from self and desire for harmony. So there is this need for contentment and satisfaction. So some sort of deeper spiritual inclination. Low self-confidence. Again, learning disabilities and dyslexia. So children with developmental delays, neurodevelopmental issues and learning disabilities. Too much sensitivity to light, to noise, and obviously you see hypersensitivity. So a great zone for allergies. And then this need to withdraw and a sense of danger. So can you see this is the general broad spectrum sphere of action, the foci of this remedy, of this group of remedies at stage 1. Now, obviously, these are based on clinical information. This is based on curative effects seen in patients and to some extent what pathophysiological pictures have been seen in patients. But to supplement this, we're also going to look at the actual pathophysiological information that we get from material doses and hormonal dosing of these remedies and the action of these remedies at a physiological level. So before we go, just summing it up, on the mental broad spectrum aspect at stage 1, we have withdrawal, too much sensitivity, learning disabilities, dyslexias, delayed development, low self-esteem, childish behavior or childlike qualities, and need for harmony with self. And on the physicals, you have hormones as a big spectrum, right from puberty to menopause and pregnancy. Mucous membrane is another important part. Abdominal cramping and gripping, nausea, vomiting, and coryza. So especially allergic coryza. These would become the zone of what we get from our stage 1 probing information. So now let's see what happens at the physiological level. So when you're studying the Matridonal Materia Medica at stage 1 at an organic physiological level, what you do is look into your pathophysiological books or anywhere on the web where you get pathophysiological factual information and start looking for what are the female sex hormones and what is their scope and where you find the effects, you find the side effects, and you find the entire spectrum of the effect of these remedies. What we have is the major function and the major sphere of action is on the reproductive system, where it regulates healthy physiology, development, and function of the female reproductive system from puberty to sexual development to reproduction to sexuality. So this is the spectrum of affinity of these matridonal remedies. When you have a patient with these at stage 1, you have matridonal remedies in your spectrum right there. And then you're just not looking at female reproductive system information. You're also looking at the generalized effects of these remedies, and they have action and affinities for fat distribution, body weight, on cholesterol transport, on inflammatory responses in the body. So a strong role to play in a metabolic syndrome, then on hair growth and skin elasticity. So health of the skin and the hair forms an important sphere of action. Bone, skeletal muscle growth, stem cells, increasing, decreasing these stem cells or issues with stem cells, and you have these remedies coming up strong there. Gastrointestinal tract, digestive disorders, you've seen that. coupled with the fat distribution in the metabolism. So you have a huge role there. Then you have respiratory system. You saw the mucous membrane, the allergies, the asthma. And then you have emotions and moods coming up. So don't underestimate the work of these remedies at this level as well, right? And so this will tell you the entire spectrum of the hormonal remedies within the matridonals. But hormones are just one part. You have the other part in the matridonals, and that is the matridonal tissue, which is related to the tissues which are regulating the embryological, the fetal development, right from conception to birth, and then also in the postnatal period while the child is breastfeeding. So this is a huge spectrum again within the journey of the female, and works for nutrient uptake, for waste elimination, gas exchange during when the baby is growing, and then during labor, the entire stage of labor, the lactation and the breastfeeding aspect. So can you see, this is where the matridonal tissues as well have an important role to play. So you have this whole spectrum in front of you at stage 1. Whenever your patient comes up with these issues at this level, matridonal remedies are to be thought of. That is what we're looking at here. Now we can obviously study individual remedies and look at what their specific needs are and where their specific role is. But this is the broad spectrum stage 1 understanding. If you know your remedies at this level, you know your remedies at stage 1. But knowing the group at stage 1, you still have a lot of information, a lot of data here to work with, just using these handful of remedies. How wonderful is that? So now let's move to stage 2.